The boy reached the rail camp by nightfall. Smoke hung low, not from fires, from men who worked until they forgot why. He kept his head down and his name quiet. Names were expensive here. He listened. Men talked when they believed no one important was near. About payments late. About land cleared too fast. About a man who signed papers but never showed his face. Caleb Harlan. The boy didn't ask questions. He watched who collected, who paid, who lied. By morning he had 3 names, not killers. Clerks, men who stamped documents and slept well. He followed one of them into a supply office just outside the camp. Inside, shelves were stacked with ledgers, clean, careful, final. The boy didn't touch them. He memorized where they were kept. Who guarded them? Who didn't? As he left, a foreman shouted his name, not his real one. The one he'd chosen for this road. He answered to it. That night he wrote a letter by lantern light, not to threaten, to inform. It listed dates, places, names that should never be said together. At the bottom he signed nothing. He folded it carefully and slid it beneath a door marked Accounts. By dawn, someone would read it. By dusk, someone would panic. The boy mounted his horse and rode away before either happened. For the first time, he wasn't chasing the truth. He was letting it move on its own. Caleb Harlan read the letter twice. Not because he doubted it, because he measured it. He recognized the handwriting style. Immediately, careful, observant, unafraid of silence. Find who saw this written, he said calmly. No anger, no raised voice, just direction. By afternoon, a clerk was dismissed quietly. Another was sent west with a new assignment and no return date. Ledgers were moved. Names were shortened. The story adjusted. Word reached Silas 3 days later. A town he'd passed through had gone silent. A man he'd spoken to no longer answered his door. More noticed too. He's cleaning, he said. Silas nodded. And counting. Somewhere else, the boy watched a rail camp change overnight. Guards doubled. Doors locked. The letter had landed, and it had been understood. Harlan sat alone with a map, fingers resting on Black Hollow, then sliding outward. They think they're separate, he said. He marked 3 points. They never are. Outside, a messenger saddled a horse before being told where to ride. By the time night fell, Harlan had made his own letter, not written on paper but on men, and it was already moving. Silas knew something was wrong before the rider reached him. Towns didn't empty that fast. The message was short. Spoken once, never repeated. You're not welcome past the ridge. No name, no threat, just fact. Moore read the land and frowned. Too quiet. Too prepared. He mapped us, he said. Silas didn't argue. He was already moving. They turned east, avoiding the main road, riding into ground that didn't forgive mistakes. At dusk, they found the burned remains of a supply post. Not robbed, erased. A symbol carved into the beam caught Silas's eye. 3 lines, one cut through. Moore went still. That's Harlan's mark, he said. It means the debt's paid. Silas looked at the ashes. Paid by who? Moore didn't answer. Miles away, the boy watched men load wagons under armed guard. The camp was closing fast. What he'd started had changed the routes. The fire had jumped. Back on the trail, Silas finally spoke. He's not chasing us, he said. He's shaping where we can exist. Moore met his eyes. Then we stopped reacting. Silas nodded. For the first time, he wasn't being cornered. He was choosing the ground. Silas didn't choose a town. He chose a crossing, where 3 routes met, and none could be closed without being noticed. If he's shaping where we can exist, Moore said, this place won't last a night. Silas dismounted. That's why we won't stay. He spoke to people who weren't used to being spoken to, teamsters, freighters, men who moved goods but not stories. He didn't ask for loyalty. He asked for memory. If anyone asks, Silas said, you saw me heading west. That night, a different rumor moved east. Moore watched it happen in real time. You're feeding him false ground. Silas nodded. Let him spend men on shadows. Before dawn, Silas rode south alone. Not fast. Precisely. He stopped at a courthouse that hadn't been used in years. Inside, records sat untouched because no one thought they mattered anymore. Silas opened one ledger and smiled for the first time in a decade. "There you are," he said. Somewhere else, Caleb Harlan received word that Silas Crowe had been seen, twice, in opposite directions. He frowned, not in anger, in calculation. For the first time, the board no longer matched the story, and Silas was no longer playing defense. The boy rode before the sun fully rose. No camp behind him, no plan ahead, just a direction he hadn't allowed himself to choose before. He didn't know where Caleb Harlan stayed. Men like that didn't stay anywhere. But power left marks. Offices that closed early, roads that bent around nothing, people who lowered their voices when a name almost escaped. He followed those signs, not fast. Careful. Each town pushed him farther from comfort and closer to intention. At a dry crossing, he stopped to water the horse and heard two traders arguing. That land was paid for twice, one said. The other spat. Only once on paper. The boy mounted again without asking questions. He didn't need answers yet. He needed proximity. By nightfall, he stood on a ridge overlooking a small town wrapped in lamplight. Too quiet, too ordered. He felt it in his chest before he named it. Harlan had passed through here, or was about to. The boy rested a hand on the saddle horn and exhaled. He wasn't chasing the truth anymore. He was riding toward the source,